Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the creditrepairshop.com. And in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about a webinar that I was just on where actually had a administrative judge, had representative of CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, had a consumer advocate group representative. I think there was two, and then there was also someone from the Fed Reserve that was also in the webinar. And so this is going to be a very important thing. The whole webinar was about individuals being sued and how debt is affecting Americans across the country. So this is going to be some important information that I want to share with you. Uh, right here in my hands, I have something that I believe that I want to brag about with the work that our company is doing for individuals who are, being sued, and it could be by original creditors where deals have to be worked out. And I have in my hands a settlement agreement on an American Express account with the client where it was, I believe this one was over $15,000. We got uh, settlement for $4,000, a little under 4,000. And I think that this is very good because number one, it shows that our company does get into the trenches and does that negotiation. We do the back and forth. Uh, Obviously, with other companies that are doing this, they're making people put 15% commission fees on there. We don't do a percentage of what was saved uh, on the settlement. So this individual would have had to pay 4,000 plus 15% of the overall amount that was saved. Uh, and that would be making another hardship on the individual. We have a flat fee service that we charge for doing this. It's only $250 and we'll per debt, and we will resolve it. If you have two small debts, then we can do it for that smaller amount. But I think that this is something good because you'll see a lot of people talk about doing stuff like this other than the debt settlement companies that are out there like National Debt Relief and I think Care One Credit and some of the others. They're really doing it, but they're charging the 15%. But you have other people on YouTube talking about that they can do it for their clients and they don't follow through. We've had several people come to us lately that said that they had hired a credit repair company. Credit repair company was supposed to do that work and they never did hear back from them because the reason why they didn't hear back from them is because it can take up to 10 to 15 calls to get a settlement. It could take up to 4 to 5 calls to even get the right individual that can even get your information to the individual to even make a decision on doing a settlement. So this is hard work that we do. We added in with our services. It is a small additional fee, but we this is something that we do in addition. So I wanted to make you aware of that. Now the next thing that I want to make you aware of is this webinar that I had just finished up with that had the people from different industries and including an administrative judge, which really caught my attention because he was actually talking about what was going on in his courtroom. And make sure you watch this complete video because I'm going to talk about what he's talked about in there. You're going to find that it's very interesting when you hear what he had to say. This is a judge that that rules on debt collector lawsuits, third party and original creditors. I'm going to tell you exactly what he had to say. Uh, Now, one of the things they had in there, they had a artist, and this is how debt is affecting people. They actually had an artist that was part of the webinar, and they had shared art, and this art is going to be displayed, I think, in New York, and it showed people in handcuffs. And these are like illustrations. These are like not maybe that's not the right word for it, but it's they're trying to get across how people are feeling. And they showed like in one had people lined up and they were in handcuffs looking out a window. And that was like a representation of, the debt just has me like I'm in prison. even though they're not actually in prison, they feel like they're in prison. And then they showed a person on the phone with a debt collector at the kitchen table, and the child was trying to do their homework, and the representation showed how the parent is frustrated. But what a lot of people don't understand is that your children, our children, know if you're stressed, they become stressed and they act out in different ways. And so in this image, it was showing the parent sitting at the table talking to a debt collector, frustrated, child trying to do homework, and they were frustrated. Just the way, I mean, some of these pictures were amazing. And then they showed one where person was in the car, phone call, and they were in, well, not on the phone, they were in deep thought of about how they're going to pay their bills. Like, I'm in debt, sitting in traffic, don't know how they're going to pay for something or get groceries or take care of the household expenses. They're showing these representations, and I believe that those are very important because that's it. Debt is debt, but feelings are what comes about from having debt. And CFPV shared some stories that people had stated had happened to them when they were talking to debt collectors. And what they had actually did is talking to a debt collector and a debt collector threatening you and doing all of this stuff, that's one thing, and that's not something that they're supposed to do. But when you think about it, there's always another side, and I'm not talking about the side of the debt collector. I'm talking about the side of that affects, like them calling you is one domino, but they had showed where this one guy, his uncle had co-signed for him, and it had ruined their whole relationship because now they're calling the uncle. The uncle is retired, and but the nephew couldn't continue paying, but the uncle co-signed, and it actually just broke up their relationship. The uncle is not answering any of his calls because the debt collectors are trying to get to him. Now, we're not going to get into you need to, tighten up and pay that debt and get that off your uncle's back. But what they're talking about in this webinar is that how relationships are being broken up over debt. And they were also talking about children hearing debt collector calls, had it on speakerphone, and the debt collector berated the individual, saying, "Hey, you should pay your debts. You should do this. You should do that." Or debt collectors called, and the children answered the phone, and they were like, "Is your mom or dad there? This is so and so from this company." And they were just giving all of these examples, and all of this is like you had the first domino, and then the other dominoes start to fall. This types of issues with debt starts to bleed off into our relationships, starts to affect the way that our children are relating to us because they understand what that you're under a lot of stress. And that was the next thing that they had got into, is they had said that according to the NIH, is debt is linked to high anxiety, stress, and depression. And so we know that if someone is under a lot of stress, their you know credit is screwed up, too much debt, can't pay for stuff. Some people, in some cases, moving from place to place, that this affects the children and it affects the individual because they lose confidence. They don't know where to turn. They don't know how to reset themselves. And I think that that's one of the biggest goals that I have with the company, the Credit Repair Shop, is to allow an individual to be able to reset. Like, if to be able to reset your life and to be able to get your credit back on track, to be able to pay down debt that you have, do settlements, work out arrangements, and all of that stuff. That allows an individual to be able to reset. And just like bankruptcy allows people to reset, but we all know that right now, and this is my own opinion, that a lot of people are being forced into a Chapter 13 repayment plan, and that's making it even harder for them to pay their bills because they're just paying the trustee all of the money. I see this with one of my other companies, individuals that are paying off Chapter 13 bankruptcy. They're paying out of their check every week, and it's a large percentage of their check. It really doesn't. I mean, I guess it gets the debt collectors off your back where they can't call you, but it does really does nothing for the debt, in my opinion. So they were stating that high anxiety, stress, depression, that people are feeling these types of issues when they have the debt. So now let's get into what the court administrative judge who says that he sees hundreds of cases per month from third party debt collectors and original creditors, but we're going to speak on what he said about third party debt collectors. So he started out the conversation where he talked about where there's a process for serving someone, that you should always make sure that you were properly serviced. And the reason why he said that you should always look at that, because there's always rules in all 50 states. We all know that. Some of them say you got to have it in hand. Some of them say that you have to publish it, and you have to, well, you have to tempt, and then you, if you can't get it in hand, you can leave it, and then you can publish. It's different in all 50 states, especially during the COVID period of emergency. It was very easy for them to serve people if they didn't get it in hand. But he had stated that the reason why a lot of the lawsuits go through, and he said about 75% of the lawsuits in his court room are default judgments. Just like he's just like, I can't even say anything. The person didn't show up. There's no way for me to even ask if they were properly served. 75%. And then the other percentages that are in there, they're never he said like 99% don't have representation. And that, and I guess when he's saying representation, they're going to ask the they would have wrote the summons, proper summons response back, and they would have had an affirmative defense put in place for them to have some type of argument against the third party debt collector being able to collect from them. So he stated that in there. And then he went into more details about the good faith basis is given. And he said that, they see each other all the time, the debt collection lawyers, all of them, they see each other all the time. When individuals come, you're coming maybe once, or, unless you had a whole bunch of debts and you're being sued and you have to keep coming in, you're going to really just see you one time. So the relationships are already kind of unbalanced. And I've talked about that in the past before, that if when you're going into court, that one thing that you will find is that the debt collection lawyer, they'll be almost speaking to each other by first name. Some of the times, they're always respectful to the judge, but you'll see them, you'll just get that feeling that, hey, they know each other, that feeling. But one thing that he did make plain, like he said it straight up, which is what I always talk about, is that if you give a defense, an affirmative defense of what you want them to prove, because he said that in many of them where he would just review, and really he cares because he's part of this organization where they're trying to help people that are being overwhelmed with debt on social on a social type basis. So he's not just on the legal part, he's talking about the social implications of people going through these debt collection lawsuits. And he was mainly stating that if when he reviews stuff, that because of the good faith basis it's given, that most courts don't even really dig into the details, and all you have to do is set up an affirmative defense and they will start digging into the details of the case. And he said that a large number, he didn't give it a specific number, he didn't give it a specific percentage, he just used the word a large number of cases that were filed would never be able to be proven if you took it to trial. That was his exact words. He said that if the individual was willing to push it and go all the way to trial, that the debt collection would lose or they would back out. Now, it's funny that he said that, because we've had a large number of clients who we had helped prepare their responses, And then what would this is the process that has been happening. They would say, okay, well, we're going to put a court date, 60 days from now or 6 months from now. One individual, they made a court date for a full year from now. The reason why I believe, and this is just my opinion, they made that because they don't have the information to be able to win. So what they want to do is to have the individual forget about it, don't go to court, and they get their default judgment. Or maybe you go there, but you just forget about what your response. And I always tell people, just keep your response, and that's your response. And they're going to try to flip it around on you and try to say you need to bring these witnesses and all of this type of stuff. No, when your affirmative defense is questioning the documentation that they presented, they'll try to flip that around and say you need to present some documents. You don't have to produce anything. Even now, this is one that they'll try to throw out there. They'll say you need to produce documents if you're trying to dispute any amount of the amount that we're claiming that you owe. You're this is the comeback on that, excuse me. This is the comeback on that, is that I need to review all of the charges that were charged, because there are certain charges that I did dispute that I want to review the documents that you received from the original creditor to make sure that those were credited. I don't remember which ones they were. I just know that they were disputed. And if you got all of the documents, if you're the new owner, you assume all of the responsibility and you have all of the documentation, please provide me that information. And that's how you would express it to the judge. Why wouldn't they go and produce those documents? The reason why is because they can't produce those documents. Because all of the documents that they have is those few bank statements. They're going to have that affidavit that was signed, if they even had that for your specific debt, from the original creditor. It does not have your name on it, does not have your specific account on there. Then they're going to try to throw the batch certificate, which is a document that'll have your name blacked out, or they'll have your first name, or maybe your name will be there, but they'll have some other stuff blacked out, and they'll try to submit that as evidence on their side. And all you have to do is ask to have that unredacted to make sure that that's you, make sure that that account number is your account. All of that. You're not trying. You're going off of the documents that they're producing. They're producing incomplete documents. That's why you, in a way, have the ball in your court. That's what this administrative judge was actually saying, is that if you just challenge them with the information that they're bringing forth, you would have a good chance of winning, because they know that they don't have all of the information if you ask it the right way. That's the thing. You have to ask it the right way. So I wanted to get this information to you, because if you have third party debt collectors coming after you, please don't just give in. It's worth it, especially if they're coming after you for thousands of dollars. It's worth it for you to take the time and do a response, because that response could literally save you. You don't know what could end up happening with the third party debt collector that you have. Also, you should educate yourself, if you had a time, on what to do and what to say in those responses, because you don't want to just sit there denying everything. That's not going to work. What you're doing is you want to build a response based off of the information that they provided, which is always 100% incomplete. I think that only one that was ever sent over from a collector and had sent over complete documentation, and they still lost because they didn't produce the affidavit of when they sold, with the affidavit of the debt when they purchased. They only produced the affidavit of a complete portfolio, and they stated that that portfolio was also included in that purchase. No, that's not going to work. When you buy a portfolio, you need to buy it from the original creditor, and that original creditor has to state that that portfolio is 100% with no errors. No bankruptcies are in there, no incorrect account numbers, no incorrect balances, all payments, everything was 100% accurate. They'll just try to state that, well, according to business practices, everything that was turned over to us is correct, according to the way that business records are put together. That's not going to work. You want to get the actual documents, the actual information. When they're talking about business records, they're talking about the way that they do their entire uh, pool of clients. It, if they're getting it from a debt collect, I mean, from an original creditor, they're talking about the way that we manage our files. Well, number one, this file went into a non-performing file. How do you manage that file? But we don't even have to get into asking how they manage it. We just challenge that the third-party debt collector does not have any information. They never worked for that original creditor, and there's no way that they know that they maintain their records in the fashion that they're stating on the documents that they submitted, not you just saying it. They submit that. When they submit that document, there's a document that they've been doing, and I believe that it's because of the way that of the work that we've been doing. They'll submit this document that'll state that the business records and everything was all done above, the way that it's supposed to be, and that the person who signs it is over the age of 18 and they're familiar with the way of these business record keeping. But this is the crazy thing. The person who's signing it is a person who works for the third party debt collector. That would be like me saying to another company about, that I know how you maintain your records, even though I don't work for your company. That's exactly what they're doing. And that speaks to what this judge is talking about. He's just saying that all of this stuff, like 100% of everything that's going on really in the civil lawsuit arena with these small claims lawsuits is basically done on what's called good faith basis is given. That's basically what he said, and that there is a way to fight it if you fight it. And you could win or lose. That's something that you have to accept. You can win or lose. Sometimes it depends on the judge that you get in front of. Sometimes if you don't have a tolerance to go to court, you could just push to go ahead and move to a settlement. But I would always say that you might as well push it to the limit, and then you always have the option to do a settlement. Even before it goes to a judgment, you had an option to do a settlement. A lot of people don't even know that. They have when they win, they have to put in a notice to get the judgment, and you can stop the judge right at the point before he does the judgment and say, I would like to work out a plan. And what they'll do, and that actually was what was part of the letter that I was reading earlier, is that if you don't follow through with the plan, then they will allow the judgment to be placed on your credit or your public record. So I think that this is some very good information that it'll help you. All right, if you have debt collectors trying to sue you, uh, you know, I have a service that is provided, and the link is below this video. We will help you, assist you in getting a response to your court and to the attorney that is suing you. It is well worth it. We've helped a lot of clients, win their cases, get them straight up dismissed. If you have debt collectors coming after you early in the game, respond to them early. Grab my 3 pack of letters. Make a donation. For some reason, some people are making a donation for zero. I hope you don't feel that the information I'm giving you is worth zero when it can save you time, money, frustration, all of that stuff. Or maybe they just don't understand that they got to put a number in there. But if you don't have to put one to get the letters, but I would really appreciate it if you do. It helps me monetize my time to to come on here to give you this great information. If you have credit repair issues and you want us to help you with your credit, link is below this video. You can go to the creditrepairshop.com. Watch the video, what makes us different, so you can see my 8-point validation process and my two-phase settlement process. That's the way that we repair credit. We don't do it any other way. If you need your credit reports and scores, we can help you get those. Go to your the number 3scores.com and grab those credit reports. TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, in all 3 scores. And we can also help you get your FICO scores if you want to see exactly what car dealers see, mortgage companies, and credit card companies, and insurance companies, the exact scores that they're going to approve you or deny you by. This is the FICO scores for all different levels of FICO. Thank you for your time. This is Stephen A. Williams, President and founder of the creditrepairshop.com. Please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. Post your questions and comments.